Would any of the panelists like to respond to the comments?
Yeah, first to your own comment about innovation, I maybe have a different view of what innovation is from yours, and I would argue that the way we do things in WFP now, compared to what we've done for decades, is innovative, particularly for the poor, in the sense that we have been purchasing food in developing countries for a long time, but we've been purchasing in the open market. We are now spending some of that money purchasing from poor farmers, poor smallholder farmers. And the innovation there is, how do you reach them? And do you just purchase from them individually, or do you work through their organized institutions that are farmers' associations? And when you have in your intent that you want to reach women, because when women have money in their pockets, their families' welfare comes to mind first. They will make sure that they have food on the table. They will make sure that they have shelter, health, and the other requirements. And we cannot continue saying, certainly in Africa, that 80% of the food consumed in households is produced by women, and not have innovative programs that reach those poor, particularly the poor women who are producing the food. Not only do we purchase from them, we make sure that the food they produce to sell, which they start off producing to consume, is of such a quality that it is as good for them as it is as good for us. And in the process also, in the farmers' associations, when they meet, we take advantage of that to talk about health and nutrition. I must say, however, that it has not been easy to get women farmers, smallholder farmers, organized, and therefore our purchasing for progress is not reaching them as quickly as we would like. And this is, I think, speaking to your issue of needing to organize people on the ground. Thanks.
Thank you. Ursula, you wanted to? I'll come to you.
Well, it's, as you can imagine, not very easy for a development bank to really directly reach the poor, but there are ways how to do it. And we include more and more civil society organizations into our dialogue when we prepare projects and when we implement projects. And looking into our agenda today, we had yesterday a side event together with IRI, the International Rice and Research Institute in Los Baños, close to Manila, and we have presented innovative approaches for pre- and post-harvest technologies, which are really aiming at getting the pre- and post-harvest technologies and their advantages down to the small farmers. And we do some pilot testing, adaptation and adoption of outscaling and upscaling such technologies, and look into agroecologically based pest management practices in the key rice producing areas in Southeast Asia. So these are really examples how we want to go down and come down to the poor farmers through innovative approaches. And that means we have to upscale also agricultural research and do more in this area in order to get such innovative approaches down to the ground.
Thank you. Hans?
Yes, regarding innovation and change, I fully buy into your argument of awareness. I think awareness is so powerful, because we have seen in our project out in Ghana that in fact farmers are now aware of the negative impact of mycotoxins to their food, in their food. It has an impact on trade and not getting a price premium. And people now are aware that this kind of change has a direct impact to their lives. And I think that this is where you then really create an impact at the bottom. Because it's about consumers, and these people out there, they are consumers, as we are all of us. You are all consumers. I am a consumer. Smallholders are a consumer. And I think if we put, in our attempt to link this whole theme in one row, and instead of talking too much about finding out what links what together, if we would align, to my understanding, to this idea of really focusing on consumers, whatever consumers we are talking about, and aligning academia, private industries, cooperatives, farmers' organizations, and clearly stating out what are our expected results. Once again, in our case, it was a simple one. We simply wanted to eradicate mycotoxins on food and feed chains. And we're working on that. And it is possible. In this case, we were able, and we are able now for the third consecutive year, to match with the hardest targets and standards, and this is about 4 ppb, 4 billions per part, on mycotoxins, on grains. You know, what an achievement. This is outstanding. And now comes the best. It is all done by local people. So it can be done. There is no international expertise. Yes, we had the help, and the very valuable help, of the local expertise via IITA, the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, with some in-house expertise from the company. But now the whole system runs with local people. And that is why I say, go out, do it, and try to do even better, roll it out, and also multiply it, and then we will have a lot of very good experience and healthier people in rural areas, instead of putting too much money into even more academia research, sorry to say that for my friends who are in academia, or into in overall policy research per se too.
Thank you. The other Hans?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Isha, you complained about the fact that there is little evidence of innovative approaches nowadays, and I think partially that is due to the fact there's little funding for these activities, for multi-sectoral or integrated approaches. There is a West African proverb that says, le développement n'a pas de mémoire. In English, the development has no memory. And I'd like to say that 30 to 40 years ago, there were a lot of integrated rural development programs integrating not only agriculture, infrastructure, extension, and so on, but as well health and nutrition questions. And as one of our one of the speakers in the audience said, there is not enough evidence to say, were these projects over-complex, or was there a lack of funding, or perhaps were the general conditions not adequate? It was a time of very low international food prices, and these low international food prices were very harmful for all these integrated approaches. So they did not show the expected results, and they were they disappeared from the scene of the development cooperation. But perhaps now, given the higher food prices, given higher capacities of national and local governments in so many countries, perhaps we have a new chance to at least start some of the multi-sectoral approaches, not trying to englobe all aspects of rural development, but perhaps to tackle the most important linkages. I think this could be an answer.
Thank you. Ajay?
Thank you. I'd agree from the onset. Perhaps it was not very evident to say we were giving you some sort of innovation. But in my other role, one of the biggest things we used to do was to organize rural farmers and provide that forum for them to articulate their views, at the same time provide a forum for others to disseminate information back to them. I think this in itself was a very big innovation, where you have a very diverse and spread out population, and the ability to bring them together and provide this forum was important. But most importantly was The commonality at that time was, again, the emphasis on agriculture maybe have been your input supply or your marketing or something. That was what gravitated people together. But what is changing is the leverage of strength that is being seen by them. So they're no longer confining themselves to something like a trade association, but you are seeing that they're getting more and more involved in governance issues. They're getting more involved in government spending. They're getting more involved in budgetary allocations and to see where those priorities are happening. So perhaps it might be as big as you think it might be, but it is certainly happening. And also, this concept of bringing farmers together is enabling industry, people like Hans, to find it more receptive to invest in certain countries, for WFP, for their malnutrition programs, to have a group of farmers who are doing soybeans, for instance, or people who are doing maize or cocoa or whatever. And I think this is perhaps the innovation that is happening, but perhaps not more so evident face value.
Thank you. Jeff, would you like to say something?
Well, I'm very much aware of what Hans said, that universities are a bit at a distance from academic research, a bit of a distance from some of these very important on-the-ground issues. There are a lot of universities, particularly in the South, who are very much involved as they do their research and training with development, through action research, through extension training. But universities aren't really set up to be development institutions. I think the function they have here that they need to innovate on is to help develop new tools and methodologies for integrating health and agriculture and nutritional research, to train the professionals who are going to be sitting in this room in this conference in 10 years' time, hopefully with a better capacity than we have to think across these areas, and to provide challenge to what we see roll out when we begin to do this, and to always be in a challenge role. And I feel that this is a new area, but I do feel that there is some very interesting innovation going on. And I think some of the publications we've heard about here, a lot of the work coming out of the International Food Policy Research Institute, that in a modeling sense is really trying to bring together economic and agriculture and health, nutritional parameters, it is revealing the potential, but also the big questions that need to be answered. So I think the innovation is that the structures exist in universities to do this. We see a few already forming. We've got a good group of universities here to continue that process.
Thank you. Well, we all recognize that these are big and complex questions, and we have to continuously innovate and hope to find answers which will include not just improving competitiveness, but building awareness, bringing about institutional change, which makes it possible. And I'm very happy that I was able to provoke the panel so they could come out and state more clearly something that they had intended in the first round. I thank you all, and thank you for your patience. Thank you.